So everything we do and have developed is about favouring, I guess, the security of the small business owner and us trying to serve them or trying to keep them within the business, because they can choose to leave at any moment, really.
This is Velocitize Talks, and I'm Eric Jones. I'm here with Doolan, the CEO and founder of Sight & Stores. Drew, I wanted to ask you, tell us a little bit about Sight & Stores and the insight that gave rise to its creation.
It was an evolution of me understanding what small businesses needed. I figured years ago that businesses needed newsletters online, so EDMs. So this must have been about 12 years ago. And I decided to start door knocking every business, Richmond area and city area. And then as I was going around, I realised that there was a need for websites. I decided to move towards selling websites, and it just turned out that Google pay-per-click and all those sorts of things were starting to happen online. And the reason I started wanting to search to sell newsletters or be in the digital space was because I'd been ripped off by a larger digital agency when I had a previous business. I was pitched by them, and I signed a contract which was quite a lengthy contract, and the sums were quite large, and I was a bit naive and ignorant, and I sort of figured if someone could come into the digital space to truly serve the small business owner, so have a lower cost and bring ideas and bring things that bigger businesses had, and distribute them to smaller business with a lower risk type scenario, that it would work. So everything we do and have developed is about favouring, I guess, the security of the small business owner and us trying to serve them or trying to keep them within the business, because they can choose to leave at any moment, really.
So it seems your purpose is very clear in terms of, Sight & Stores. How important do you think purpose is for businesses today? Is there any situation where it is appropriate for brands to sort of sit on the sidelines and not get involved in social issues or causes or
I think it is. I think it's just about being open, honest, being transparent about what your goals and endeavours are. And then I think that truth is what will drive the business forward. What you've got is really, within business, an environment which is not necessarily truthful. There's a branding and a speak for what you need to be, a performance of what you need to be, and then there's the true you underneath. And I think the merging of it is quite difficult. So what I promote is being open, honest, transparent in terms of the endeavours, and everyone around you being uplifted. You can't control what someone's going to care about. You can manipulate them into pretending to be something, however. I think it's a little self-righteous to only have brands with vision and purpose, because I don't think it's truthful. I think there can be endeavours, and I think we can be trying to reach something, but to pretend that we're something we're not is innately dishonest. Mm-hmm. And I would prefer people just be who they are, with the business trying to achieve what it's supposed to, which is profit, and then whoever gets the profit needs to do with it what they will. So, and it may be purposeful endeavours, as long as it's honest and people are open about it, then I think it's fine. I don't think brands need to be like that.
Do you think businesses being online facilitates having that openness, that authenticity, that transparency? Because almost by virtue of their being online, they're opening themselves to having a constant dialogue with all manner of stakeholders.
I think being online, if there is an open to and fro with clients, you're exposed into being who you truly are as a business. So there's a way to manipulate that, I guess, if you have more funds, because you have better people to control the story that's being told, or things that can help promote the story that you're telling to clients. But seeing the reaction of people to your business or your brand will educate the business if there's a real gap between who they are and who they need to be. I don't think online is helpful as well, because it gives a voice to the extreme negative as well, which is also a bit of a shadow exposure of probably who you're not as well. So if a brand, if I'm just thinking about it now, like if a brand is true to whom they are and what they're trying to do, then you will end up with clients that are promoters of the brand, and they will go in to protect the brand as well. So, but you need to be a certain size with a certain momentum for that to occur. I think it's a danger for much smaller businesses. Like me catching Ubers, I get to interact with a lot of people that are part-time business people, and there have been many times when I've spoken to people just even in the car there. There's one particular fellow that I was talking with, he owned a restaurant, and I was asking him why he was driving, etc. And he told me the story that he ended up having to shut down because he was rated 2 point something stars, and no one eats at a 2-star restaurant. But what happened was he was supposing that it was a local competitive business that was somehow putting those stars up because it was talking about things that weren't actually occurring. So it's easy to manipulate. I think it's small business that are open to either great success or just instant failure online. Bigger businesses have a bit more of an advantage, I feel, when it comes to a good business.
So given that, do you think SMBs should go online first, or should they begin as brick and mortar type stores?
Either or. I think it depends if it's a service or, I think either or. I mean, I think that what the most important thing is that you've got your MVP, your minimum viable product, something that you're thinking people want to purchase. I think a physical business can be a good MVP, a minimum viable business to product to see what's going to work online. I mean, I've got a personal friend that's doing blankets. Like she teaches people to crochet blankets or whatever it is, their classes. I can see that being massive, but that started with shops offline, and then she'll be honing her product, and I can see that going international. And like for a small business owner, I can see that turning over millions and millions, probably being quite large, compared with just being a local person showing patterns. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think the main thing about small business when it comes to the expectations of online is you get to live your life offline and not purely in the growth of your business or live and breathe what's happening with the business. I think that's really important. But either or, I could see if I was to start again, I could probably build an offline business. And I think there's a choice to have it completely offline with just a small presence, because I think people will, we've had the pendulum swing to mega online, and there's going to be a pendulum swing back, but it's going to settle in the middle where people are wanting to travel locally and they are wanting to do things locally and be offline, etc. I think online will just be a way to make it more viable and have more income coming. So, yeah.
Shifting to your own business, how, you run agencies at the very high end, and at the other end for SMBs. How important is culture to your teams to ensure that they remain, happy, effective, and creative?
Oh, it's the only thing I've been thinking about really the last few years. It's a really hard thing to nail. We only have about 30 people, but in a smaller group, it's hard to create a big business type culture. It really depends on the sort of people you're hiring, but if you've got an idealized purpose or high vision type like values, like one of our values is to be open, honest and transparent in all our dealings. One of them is to be fully self-expressed. But what I'm noticing is that when it comes to survival and the primal need to come to work and take money home and survive, that being open, honest and transparent and be fully self-expressed is quite challenging to do in an environment that you're not in control of. So I think culture is extremely important as long as it's not too idealized, too idealistic, because it's really hard for a normal person, which most of us are, including me, to actually live up to that all of the time. And I think being value driven can actually create a real anxiety of not being able to live up to things all the time. So I feel like a culture is really important as long as it's a realistic culture. I didn't really understand what culture was, and I'm still investigating, but to me, culture is just the group of all the different activities and all the different things and all the way we are within the business, and then how that feels for the group, and then how it attracts and how we can talk about it. It starts to have its own life. It's an anthropomorphism, so it's inanimate, and then you bring it to life. So I went wrong thinking that, because I had it in my imagination what I wanted the culture to be and all the people I wanted. And it's almost impossible to live up to what I wanted, because it's just impossible. I finally got to that realization. But having a good culture that's realistic and everyone can enjoy it if you're there to enjoy your work environment, I think that's a good, solid culture. But if it's too highly idealized, I think it's really a recipe for disaster ongoingly.
What, from a technology perspective, what do you anticipate, or what are the technologies that are coming down the pike that have you most excited for what they can potentially bring to SMBs?
There's a lot of movement with marketing technologies and automation and access to the mega companies' APIs and automation of activities. So it's not just the much larger companies that have access to those sorts of things. But I think what excites me about it is there's a lot of knowledge that smaller business owners have that can really be their own IP and way of behaving and way of operating, which can now be turned into technology. So it's all of these abilities to automate. There's a lot of talk about AI and machine learning and all of those sorts of things. And I think it's relevant because, let's face it, machine learning is something that we've done with our own machine over the years as we're building the business, and it's just patterns that we've created. But all of that stuff is going to help us to understand our client more so. And I think as that technology gets more available to businesses even like mine or even other marketing businesses, then we'll have a whole community of knowledge of lots of different IPs, rather than just the mega businesses saying that this is what you do and this is how it works. So it'll be more personalized machine learning in a way, but personalized to particular businesses. So does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask you, what's a book that you've recently read that you'd like to recommend for our viewers?
I don't know. I don't really read. Does that sound really bad?
No, it's totally fine. I would say maybe a podcast then.
I'm not listening to podcasts at the moment, and I'm not reading books. I'll tell you why. It's because I function really as a business artist, and I don't actually want to have my ideas combined with others at the moment when I'm in a creative phase. So I'm at a phase of actually creating things into my business, and I want to be clear that those ideas are coming from the ether and from me, so I can be really locked into what I'm wanting from the business and not what I think should be done, because it's me tapping into my own intuition. But the way I'm doing that is by being healthy and trying to keep myself in a great mindset. It's about me getting my body functioning properly so I can be the best that I can be, so that I can fulfill my personal vision. Because I think that's the key for everyone, is to get themselves in tip-top shape so they can be the best they can be.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew.
No worries.
That was Drew Doolan, the CEO and founder of Sight & Stores.